wall, it's actually on an angle. Look at that, guys. And there's also a brick that's about to pop off. Have a look at the top. And then they've got this timber prop installed here. Guys, this is actually in breach of table 9.2 from AS 4773.1, where it clearly states that for an N1 rating property with a wall height of around 3 meters, there should be a pier at 720 mil apart.
Footing beneath P1 posts at entry. The design certified by this certificate complies with the following provisions of the Building Act 1993.
Let's focus on this free-flowing box cutter here. We've got it sitting at 60 mil at the high end. So it's around, let's just say 50 mil. Yeah, that's no way near the requirements. If we look at 3500.3, figure H.1, if we plot the 300 mil, this is 290, so it's already non-compliant. The spigots here for the barrier are recessed in. They are installed on top of the substrate. We know that because the homeowner has provided photos for us. Now, if we look at the installation manual for the substrate, which you actually worried that he's a new builder, you know, can I see some of your projects?
Well, I'm going to be honest. He said to my husband, he's built with his previous company that he worked for 500 houses. So we trusted, we put our faith into him. I'm going to be honest, I really liked him. I was really having a connection with him.
There's like 43 pages of special conditions. I've never ever seen that before. And as soon as I send it to you, you're like, hey man, there's a lot of red flags there. And these homeowners have signed freaking every single page. Look at this schmozzle right there. Oh my goodness. It is also non-compliant. Where is the DBA? This is crazy. It's a complete demo job. Like you gotta really non-compliant, non-compliant, non-compliant. Look at this. Let's go. Welcome back, everyone. Check it out. I am in the jungles. There's actually a home right there. Behind those trees, there's a double-story home. The builder got his license in November 2022. So basically, he's a fairly new builder. And then in June 2023, he registered the company at the VBA. So that company had its own builder's license after that. And guess what? 2 months later, in August 2023, he signed up the contract for this home behind me right here. In my opinion, the builder has underquoted this job. He priced this job, if we look at the contract, $779,763.41. So the home is sitting on a slab. It's also got stumps, double-story home, hard to access, as you can see. The contract that he signed, he used this contract from RBN. It does state, RBN is a registered building network supporting small and emerging builders in running a better business. Did you guys help this guy quote the job? And then the most important reason that I really wanted to do this job and video the job for you guys is that the consultants involved, like the building surveyor and the engineer, did not help this builder with this project in terms of getting him to be better. The engineer signed off this job and I was just mind-boggled, is that how the hell can this engineer say,
This certificate is issued in relation to the proposed building work at Park Orchards, Victoria. Building work inspected. Single skin masonry walls filling in subfloor without piers. Some masonry is outside of guidelines for straightness. We have found it to be structurally satisfactory. Some mortar bed joints exceed 20 mm. We find this to be structurally satisfactory. Footing beneath P1 posts at entry. The design certified by this certificate complies with the following provisions of the Building Act 1993, Building Regulations 2018, or National Construction Code. I inspected the building work referred to above. I certify that the building work inspected by me complies with the provision.
But when we had a look at the job here, we're not even sure if this guy actually did the inspection properly.
Certificate and can demonstrate this if requested to do so. Endorsed building engineer, James.
Why did you choose this builder?
I liked him and I thought he was a really honest guy. He came across really passionate about building. He was pretty much new to the industry and he was telling us that, you know, he was able to build this house for us. We wanted our dream home. So he said, you know, I really want to help you guys and build your dream home. We knew it It was a difficult site. We showed him all the paperwork, all the surveying stuff for the site. We had a cut on the property beforehand, and he said, no problem, I'm willing to build for the price that we quoted to him, and he was happy to do that.
He got his license for the company in June 23.
Yes, yes.
Signed the contract in August.
Yep.
And
I met him in April. He went to Turkey to get his hair done.
Did you get any other quotes?
Yes, I did. I definitely got other quotes, and they were all coming in at the same price.
Yeah.
And we'd actually showed him some of our quoted prices to say that this is what we were quoted, and he said he could do it for that price. He actually even went under on a few of the items as well.
Were you actually worried that he's a new builder, you know, can I see some of your projects?
Well, I'm going to be honest, he said to my husband, he's built with his previous company that he worked for 500 houses. So we trusted, we put our faith into him. I'm going to be honest, I really liked him. I was really having a connection with him.
So why did you want to engage us and do an inspection?
Well, one of the reasons was my husband was coming here a couple of times after work, and he'd noticed that things were going wrong. And we asked a few questions, and they weren't able to answer, and they told us not to ring them anymore by phone. They said that we can only email, and would find that on some occasions that the emails would not be responded to. So then when Peter came up here a few times, they decided to put cameras up so we couldn't access the property. Even though that we've got a building envelope, they blocked off the entire property because we're sitting on a pretty large property. So Peter did come up, and he noticed that there was some structural stuff not going right, and they kept changing bricks to blocks and changing steel to timber, and we had some concerns because we've paid for those materials, and we were having concerns to why they were being changed, and they weren't actually approaching us to do any variations or any changes as well.
When you came to this balcony, did you notice anything wrong here?
Yeah, most definitely. I noticed that the balustrades weren't put on correctly, and at the bottom of the glass, they were digging into the tiles. So I asked the partner of the builder, who is a carpenter, what's happening here, and he said, yeah, he was well aware of the fact that something had gone wrong and they were going to change them. But then I asked again when it wasn't changed. I noticed it wasn't changed. They said, oh no, it's all good, we'll leave it as it is.
So there were a couple of things that were like a red flags for you, and you're like, you know what, we better get an inspection done to get a proper assessment of what's happening, because you can't trust this guy anymore.
That's right. I mean, we pretty much, I don't want to say punched on, but
we had a dispute.
Yeah, about the tiles in the bathroom, and I offered to go, I offered, and I called two people out, and he said, no. Then after he put them on, he said, okay, go now, but you've got to go pull it off yourself. We spent $3,000 on a freestanding bath, and then they go to us, oh, we can't put it in for you, we're not going to put it in for you. They came back and said, oh no, we'll stick it in the garage, we're not doing that, we're going to revert to a square one as well. So then they went with this bath. These are customised handmade ceramic tiles. There's a lot of damages, and we had to get these tiles because pretty much they'd broken all the rest of the tiles, and there wasn't enough for them to finish off the job.
And what about the colour here?
This is the colour. I was here when these tiles were put in. I rang the builder and told him I saw the tiler smashing the top of the tile with a hammer because it wasn't fitting into the gap. So he said, oh, that's not a problem. But look at these, it hits the... Yeah, but according to the builder, that's okay.
Yeah. Wow. And when you brought this up with him, what did he say?
Oh, too bad now because it's already been put in. Oh yeah, come and have a look at the deck. Looks really good. This is our deck. Our balustrades and our decking area.
Why didn't he want to do it?
He's over budget. He told us he was 100,000 over. So he said he can come back after we get occupancy and do the deck, but we've got to pay for it again.
These walls right here, see how they've cut them straight? They should be battered.
Yeah, there was issues with battering as well. They weren't doing it properly.
Yeah.
And then the surveyor sent this other guy out, the building surveyor sent another guy out to have a discussion with it. There was cash bits on top that they wanted too.
We're going to go through the subfloor area, the roof area, the bathrooms, balcony, everything.
Yep.
Do you think that will find a lot of things, or?
Yeah, most definitely, most definitely.
This is what I wanted to talk to you guys about. Now, as we enter the subfloor, the first thing you'll notice is that you can see how the subfloor, how it's all battered onto an angle, and then it goes down onto an anchor drain, and it terminates here. That's what it looks like. However, on the engineering plan, it shows that it should terminate around there. So we don't know if there is an anchor drain installed here. That's the problem with this. And then the second thing is that have a look at this. It's actually vertical. It's not on a slope as per the engineering. The engineering shows that it has to be on an angle, sloped. I mean, if this actually falls on someone, it can actually, look at that, it's actually coming apart. It can actually hurt somebody, probably die. So we've got already a couple of breaches. We've got the aggie drain not installed all the way to the end there. We've got this section here is not as per engineering. And I mean, if they did batter the whole thing out, no one could go inside the subfloor anymore. I can understand what they did, but if you do want to do that, they should have installed a retaining wall, but obviously nothing's been installed. Don't forget that there is an occupancy permit that has been issued here. It's been issued. This brick wall right here, first of all, this is not on the plan, this door. They've installed this lintel, and you can see how the lintel is bowing, flexing towards this section. Look at that. Wow. It's a masonry veneer wall up there. It's tight, the bricks are tied to the frame. But as we go inside here and we take a look at this wall, it's single skin. Single skin masonry with no piers supporting it for stability. Nothing installed. And they got this long lintel all the way here, and it's not even secured. Look at that, guys. My goodness. It's not even tied into the brick. Have a look. Because obviously this bearer is spanning a lot, and they wanted to introduce this here. Now don't forget that the engineer has passed this. Have a look at this pier. How it's actually on an angle. Look at that, guys. And there's also a brick that's about to pop off. Have a look at the top. And then they've got this timber prop installed here. And have a look at this brick. I mean, he's chucked in a bit of cement here. You can see how it's actually leaning. And what's this? Is this a lintel or what is it? Piece of timber, mate, for this opening. Have a look, guys. My goodness. Masonite packers, mate. That's it. That's pretty good. Not. Have a look at the columns, the steel columns, how they've set them straight on the footing. It's already rusting, you can see. Have a look at the connections here, another timber prop here. I mean, if the engineer is happy with that, he should lose his license, mate, for real. Guys, this is actually in breach of table 9.2 from AS 4773.1, where it clearly states that for an N1 rating property with a wall height of around 3 meters, there should be a pier at 720 mil apart. Let's measure it. 3.6, have a look, guys. You like my new tool? Beauty. 3.6, so this is higher than 3 meters, and basically there's nothing here. There is no engaged pier anywhere, and the engineer signed it off. If we look at this masonry wall, you can also see that it changes height here. The wall starts from here all the way up, and then there's a change in height from here to there. That's actually also another defect right there. In breach of AS 4773.1, articulation joints. It clearly states that articulation joints must be provided in masonry walls at positions where the height changes abruptly by more than 20% of its lesser height. There's one actually here, and there's no articulation joint, which is just like this joint here. There should be one over there. Nothing's installed. And if we go to this side, nothing here. There's a change in height. They've done the same thing here as well, a missing pier. They haven't installed it. They've propped this bearer, which is taking roof loads, floor loads, wall loads. You can see he's already failing. There's a lot of stress on it. Look at this, guys. Let me put a level on it to show you. The stress point, I've already marked it, is around this area here. So if I put the level here, 33 mil, 36 mil. Look at that, guys, 44 mil, 52 mil. And then as we go down, it's 12 mil, 13 mil. Have a look, guys. Wow. Now, take a look around me, guys. Can you see all these stumps? All these timber stumps right here, guys. Have a look. See how they're braced? They've got this bracing all the way, everywhere. They're cross-braced. Now, believe it or not, the bracing for these stumps is non-compliant. Let me tell you why. If we look at the ground floor schedule, and we can see that at the bottom there, it says that all stumps greater than 1500 high shall be 90 by 90 F7 cypress pine post braced in accordance with 1684. So if we look at 1684, table 8.7, the specific details of the method of attachment and the strength of the braces shall be in accordance with clause 8.3.5.5 and table 8.9. Now, if we look at that, brace to column connection, 4 N14 type 17 screws, or 1 M16 bolt or 1 M20 bolt. Now let's have a look what these guys have fixed here. They've used one screw with a couple of nails, and look at what's happening. It's actually failing already. See that? Look at that. They've done it everywhere. And the engineer said he's happy with it. Can you guys believe it? Not even one screw here. It shouldn't have been signed off, guys. It should not have been signed off. Why are we getting plans for? Why? Why are you telling this builder, you're actually showing him that, hey man, get an engineer and he can sign anything off? No, do everything as per plans, as per the minimum standards, and everybody's happy. But this is what I mean. These builders are getting taught early on the wrong way to start the building business. They shouldn't do that. Can you see those depressions, those holes where the stumps are? Just imagine if water does come in the subfloor. It's gonna be ponding in those pockets right here. It's actually also in breach of the National Construction Codes, where it does state that the ground beneath suspended floors must be graded so that the area beneath the building is above adjacent external finished ground level and surface water is prevented from ponding under the building. How can the engineer said he's happy with it, bro? Seriously. Nah, this is crazy. Another thing I wanted to show you guys is the bracing of the bearer to the post. These are the bearers. They're bearing all the weight. Just imagine something that's taken everything on. And then you've got the floor joist that sit on the bearers. This is the post, bearer, joist. Now, 1684 states the following in terms of bracing the bearer to the post. Table 9.4 from 1684 clearly states floor framing, bearer to timber, stump or post. It needs 4 75mm by 3.3mm thickness or 5 75 by 3.05mm thickness machine driven nails plus 1 30mm GI strap over bearer and fixed both ends to stump with 4 2.8mm dial each end. So every single bearer has to be strapped like that. See how this bearer here at this post is strapped as well. Can you see it? You probably already can. You can see here, there's a join. So this now is another bearer. This should have been strapped as well. The next section in table 9.4, bearer to concrete stump post, how it's supposed to be fixed. 1 6mm dial rod cast into stump vertically through bearer and bent over. Let's have a look what they've got here. 1 6mm dial rod cast into stump, and it has to be vertically through the bearer and bent over. Now we can see a little rod there that's actually bent over. That they've done that correctly. Now if we have a look at the other stump right there, they screw nailed this bearer to this bearer here. They should have used a gang nail or nail plate, and that means that only one of them might have that rod. You can see the rod goes into only one bearer. Now let's go to another concrete stump and have a look what they've done there. The builder appears did try to do the right thing. He's trying. He's updated those bearers and joists to LVLs. It's supposed to be just MGP 10s. This is actually better timber he's used, but a lot of connections, bracing units, and the whole setup of the subfloor here is unfinished, in a poor state. Have a look at this site cut. I'm really not sure how an occupancy permit has been issued. You can see how the soil was already collapsing. It's pretty dangerous. Decking's not done. The sliding doors there, and it's safe to occupy. I don't even know how this is safe to occupy, to be honest. So these are the sections where the F1 footing is supposed to be. Apparently the engineer said he inspected it and he passed it and he was happy with it. But when the homeowner told him that, I don't think you inspected it because we dug around it and we found that the footings were not installed as per the engineering, 600mm deep. Then the engineer said to the homeowner that if a builder discovers that something's wrong, they will call me, the engineer, and basically he will call his insurance. You're not pretty confident with your findings, are you, mate? The Matrix cladding installation, it's already in breach of its own manufacturer's installation guide. Nails are overdriven, really poor finish in terms of the paint. Have a look, guys. Take a look. Have a look at the finished. Just poor workmanship. There's a lot of items on this balcony. The spigots here for the barrier are recessed in. They are installed on top of the substrate. We know that because the homeowner has provided photos for us. Now, if we look at the installation manual for the substrate, which is a Scion cement sheet exterior cladding for the floors, it says that you're not allowed to install it on top of the cladding. It has to be installed onto the frame. And even the way they've terminated the waterproofing around the junctions between the substrate and the spigot, there's some bridge cracking that was being noticed on the photos that we've also included in the report. So that's the first breach. And then the second breach is that you're not allowed to put a central drain like this onto the Scion cladding as well. You have to discharge to the side of the roof. And obviously there is no performance solution for this. The third item that we have here is that we've got 6.368 meter long balcony with no control joint installed. This is also in breach of the manufacturer's installation manual. And we could tell from the photos that the homeowner sent to us that it was staggered. And when the sheets are staggered together, it needs to be 4.1 meter control joint at the length of the sheet. So there should be one here or like in the middle of it somewhere. So there's nothing here. The moisture management for this cladding is not done properly as well. I know they've waterproofed on top of the cladding, but anything that happens behind the cladding is basically entrapped inside or behind the tiles. Of course, we have this balustrading. It's not secured, it's a safety issue. This should not have been signed off for the building surveyor. All you gotta do, mate, is come on the balcony and give those balustrades a bit of a push and see if they are fixed adequately as per the requirements of 1170.1, really easy stuff. But so far, this balcony here has to get demoed and they have to start it again, unfortunately. This is the big job here. I made it on the roof, guys. There's a couple of issues with this roof. There's a free-flowing box gutter and also a box gutter that has a sump with a side duct overflow. Let's see if they've installed it properly. Rain head here, that seems to be installed as per the standards. It's a free-flowing box gutter, as you can see. The major item that we have here that's wrong is that the actual height at the high end, it discharges this way and the box gutter then discharges this way to the sump. But let's focus on this free-flowing box gutter here. We've got it sitting at 60 mil at the high end. So it's around, let's just say 50 mil. Yeah, that's no way near the requirements. If we look at 3500.3, figure H.1, if we plot the 300 mil, this is 290, so it's already non-compliant. They need a performance solution, which this box gutter does not have. If we were to go 300 mil at a fall of 1 in 100, we're looking at more than 90 mil, and we have here around 50 mil. So this has to be increased. The depth at the high end has to be increased here. That's the first breach. Now, the second breach is that we have a sump here and another sump right there with a side duct overflow. A couple of things wrong here. And remember, there is no performance solution for this roof at all. This side duct overflow installation is non-compliant. Let's chuck this tape measure here. 3500.3 states that this side duct overflow has to have equal horizontal distance from the sump. So here at 60 mil, it should also show 60 mil from here to here, and it's not. Then we have the minimum width of this side duct overflow is 160 mil. You can see from here to here, 160 mil, and from here to here as well. You measure it, 160 mil, non-compliant. And the other thing is, so the length is non-compliant, and also the width is at 50 mil. So that's another breach. And then we have the length of the sump has to be a minimum of 400 mil. It's at 270 mil. It's not compliant. The screws are over tightened throughout. Look at this, guys. They've over tightened everywhere. They've broken the weather seal, and now it's compromised the screws as well. So there's no adequate seal between the roof sheet and the screw, because all the rubber seals are over tightened. I mean, even the manufacturer states you shouldn't do that. Have a look, guys. It's actually everywhere throughout. So I've just finished the inspection, and there's over 150 items in terms of non-compliant works and defective works. For example, the roof, it's not even installed as per the minimum standards. You've got to rip the box cutter out. You've got to rip out some of the cladding to increase the size of an overflow. There's heaps of other stuff with the roof. The actual footings to the front of the pillars there, also undersized, supposed to be 600 mil deep, and they're not even done as per the engineering. And we're just talking about the engineering.
Yes.
And then you've got the subfloor items, you've got bracing not done properly, you've got the bearers not done properly, you've got the actual slope of the dirt as well. It's vertical, there's no retaining wall, there's also issues with aggie drain. The aggie drain has to extend all the way out. I haven't done that.
Yep.
There's so many items here, it's going to cost over $150,000 for sure, minimum.
It's really disappointing to know. I'm going to be honest, I appreciate everything that you've done for us. You've come out and given us a fantastic inspection, but it's really disappointing to know there's so many things that haven't been done to compliance and all these defects.
It's shocking to me to see that the engineer said that he's happy.
Yes. When we were asking about the job and what he was doing, he told us he doesn't get paid enough to check everything because there was issues with the pillars and the tiling at the front of the house. So we're quite concerned because he said, I don't get paid enough to do that, to do all the checks. So from what I gathered was that the builder wasn't paying him to do all the checks. So we weren't even sure whether the engineer was actually coming out or just working off information from the builder, because then my husband questioned it via phone, and he mentioned the same thing, and he also told him, it was on the 19th of December, that he can't talk to him anymore. Peter's wasting his time because he's got to go off to his work Christmas party.
And how the hell did he issue the certificate then? What made him do it then?
Well, this is where we have great concerns about the certificate. I mean, obviously he was working in conjunction with what information the builder's given him. And from what we can see is there's a lot of uncompliant and defects on the house. The surveyor should have been out there as well, checking these defects as well, because they were aware of them, because I've got them documented, but the surveyor hadn't come out to do these checks as well. So I don't understand how both the engineer and surveyor have not worked in conjunction together to get all these defects done. I believe that the builder's moved on to another job, hasn't come back to fix the issues with our house, and we're really concerned about where do we go from here and who's going to come out and fix these items, because I mean they're quite concerning, especially being structural items as well. But also we've got girls, I mean they have long hair and thick hair, so how are they going to have a shower? You can't limit a 2-minute shower when all the showers and the tilings hasn't been done correctly. We had a look at the showers the other day, and water's coming out from under the glass, and the glass doors don't even close.
What you got to do now is basically, first of all, try to talk to a lawyer to, get this builder to come back and fix, or try to contact the builder, say, here's the report, what are you going to do?
Yes.
We're here to see Dean from Bastion Legal, because I told you guys the contract is a weird one. There's 43 pages of special conditions. I've never ever seen that before. And as soon as I send it to you, you're like, hey man, there's a lot of red flags there. And these homeowners have signed freaking every single page.
Look, one big thing that stood out when I was reading it is the interest payment for late payments. So there's an interest rate that applies to late payments of 27.5%. I mean, that's more than the banks are charging people.
It's more than like a personal loan. Look, I went on Google and I just searched, personal loan interest rates. It's like, I think maximum was like 20% or something like that, or 24. Wow. This is like 27.5. What the hell, man?
And if you can't find more than 20% in this day and age where the interest rates are sky high, this particular builder wanted to charge extra than what all the banks in the land are charging at this stage, which is just extraordinary.
Special condition 17, page 42. Divide the calculated amount by 52 weeks. $4,122.64.
No words.
That's a week, yeah?
That's a week. That figure that you've just stated of 4,000 odd is actually calculated wrong in the special condition number 17.
So what, the actual documented figure of divide the calculated amount by 52 weeks, which he's got here,
is wrong. So the figures here are wrong.
I'm even going to ask ChatGPT to do it for me. This is clearly incorrect in the contract. What does that mean for the homeowner?
Well, what that means is that we can't rely on the figures that are stated here because they've been calculated wrong. There should be some sort of other checking that needs to be done on the other parts of the contract, because if it's wrong here, there could be some other parts that are wrong as well.
It's so important to get legal advice before you sign contracts. Like, you're not buying kebabs here.
These sort of clauses can be just buried in there, right? Yeah. And it's really important for owners and anyone that enters into contracts to get that legal advice to make sure that your rights are protected, right? Because then you could be exposed. It could be alleged that there was a payment that's late, and then there could be these fees that are charged. It could add a delay to the whole project because then it would create a dispute. It could add extra cost to the whole project, and it was just going to add a lot of stress as well.
Let's just say they're late now. Can the builder go, hey man, sorry, you've signed this, pay up?
Yeah, correct, yeah.
They can't get out of it, can they?
Well, it's the contractual provision, and then if there is a dispute about it and whether it should be enforced, then it turns into a contractual dispute, right? It's not so much building law, it's a contractual dispute.
So they basically go to court?
Yeah, or they have to go to VCAT.
Why do you think the builder went for that high interest rate?
I think it's a deterrent that he or they are trying to push onto the owners, that if there is a delay of payment, if the owner does want to withhold some money because there's defects or problems or whatever, they get scared, right, into paying because they don't want to be shoved with this excessive bill. So I think above else, the builder is trying to avoid any late payments or avoid any disputes, and so the owners will find a bit of pressure, and so they don't want to face a claim like that or a charge like that, and so they see how bad the interest rate is, and so they will just rather just settle it and just pay it and then not really worry about it.
Like the normal rate for an interest rate, it normally goes for like 5-10%. I've never seen 10%. Anything more than 10%. So if the homeowner sees anything more than 10%, they should basically get some legal advice here.
They should get some legal advice, definitely. I think they have reasonable grounds to argue or bargain with the builder because it doesn't help the owner at all. And what do you think about the final here where it says 5% at the cert of occupancy?
It actually says at the final certificate of occupancy, which the homeowners now have, but there's still a lot of non-compliant items. The whole roof is non-compliant and there's no performance solution. Waterproofing is non-compliant, subfloor is non-compliant. All these items there, still some of the items are unfinished. This decking's unfinished, but they got an OC permit. So the occupancy permit now, they have it. And what, do they have to pay now?
The last payment that's due on the contract is at that stage, and as you've just said, the occupancy permit just says that it's fit to be occupied, and there could be a whole bunch of things that are still left to be done, and it indicates here that the last 5% of the contract is paid. It gets rid of any leverage that the owner might have against the builder when it comes to trying to fix defects or getting the last bit of work done. Exactly.
So let's just say the homeowner goes, oh shit man, that's what the contract says, I have to pay it now, and they pay it. And then they get me in and the place is stuffed, a couple of $100,000 worth of stuff to be fixed. But what can they do?
Well, at that stage, they can definitely issue demands on the builder to come back and fix. If the builder doesn't come back and fix, or if they do come back and fix but not to the appropriate standard, they need to enforce their formal demands, which means going to the DBDRV, then going into VCAT if they still don't get any relief.
How could this have been avoided?
Well, there should be a condition in here that there can be some money that's withheld from the builder if there's defects that are found. And so you're never going to get that if the full amount of the contract price is meant to be paid by the occupancy permit.
Item 22, rate for liquidated damages for late completion by the builder is $250 a week. But then the rate for liquidated damages that's caused by the owner is $500.
This is a massive red flag. I mean, why would it be okay for the builder to be late in one sense, and then you double that figure if the owner does something that is not right? I mean, you can't have it both ways. If you want to claim there for some sort of delay, it should be equal footing for the builder and the owner. When you couple this with the interest rate for late payments at 27.5%, this is definitely geared towards the builder. The problem with this as well is that these standard form contracts has the base of forming a contract, right? But what this particular builder has done is that he's in the blank spaces added a lot of figures that help the builder and not the owner. Just because you're using a standard form contract, it doesn't mean that it's all going to be fair and hunky-dory. You should still be aware of your rights. You should probably get legal advice before you enter into these contracts, because in the blank stages or in the schedules or anywhere that needs some data, whether it's a figure, whether it's an interest rate, whether it's rates and things like that, that's for the parties to decide. So in the liquidated damages, it says if nothing is stated, it's $50 a week. But the parties have agreed to that it's $250 for late completion and it's $500 for delays caused by the owner. So although they had the base to make this a fair contract, it hasn't really panned out that way.
As I'm reading this contract, it's showing that the builder's really worried about what's going on. It looks like there's no trust.
True.
I already feel it. No trust between the owner and the builder.
Very true.
They're both really worried. Instead of being, hey man, let's be fair and reasonable. Let's build a house for you.
That's right.
But when you show this massive fee, a massive interest rate, I'm going to double the amount if you're late.
Yeah.
The homeowner should have said, hey man, you know what? I'm going to get this checked.
Builders are, going into that with that state of mind of what you've just said, that that element of trust which you need with the other party. It may not be that necessary to have these excessive clauses, right? And especially when you've got a special condition that asks for the final payment prior to handover, again, that shifts a lot of power over to the builder when they have a lot of power to really begin with.
Yeah, and it's not like a couple of months project. This is like, at least over 12 months. So it's a long relationship.
Correct.
And there has to be trust from the start.
That's a very good point. I think that no one really talks about that when it comes to contracts, because there's nothing about trust in here as in explicitly. It's just something that should be implied, or else then why would you contract with someone? It doesn't make any sense. But you're right, if you have this level of distrust, it does create a lot of angst and a lot of stress before you've even started, because a lot of these decisions that will guide the owners especially will be guided by fear, because they don't really want to stuff up in some way so that they don't get exposed and get hit with these massive bills.
In June 23, his company got its registration as a building practitioner.
Yep.
And then in August, he signed this contract, the actual builder. The homeowner apparently said that this is their first project. We're not 100% sure, but it probably is one of their first ones. Do you think because this guy was so worried, hey man, it's my first project, I gotta max out and just make sure everything's right? And the homeowners, when I said, hey man, why'd you choose this builder? They said to me that, they really trusted him. They felt really good energy and, they wanted to help him out and, they got similar quotes. He was in the same range. It wasn't like he was the cheapest. You actually worried that he's a new builder, can I see some of your projects?
Well, I'm going to be honest. He said to my husband, he's built with his previous company that he worked for 500 houses. So we trusted, we put our faith into him. I'm going to be honest, I really liked him. I was really having a connection with him.
So, and I'm thinking this guy, maybe because he's just starting up, he probably had a bit of fear and he just loaded up the contract. I've never seen a contract like this. The last page of special conditions, how he goes, the client shall establish a secure start account with Paid Inc. or any other agreed upon financial institution. The initial deposit into this account shall be in accordance with the terms outlined in this contract. All subsequent payments, including progress payments and any applicable additional costs such as variation, shall be deposited into this secure start account. Any variation, any additional cost, any progress payment has to go in this account. Would you even trust these companies to put money inside there, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and then the homeowner can release the payment?
Yeah. It seems a bit odd.
Because there's no trust yet that the homeowner has the money or things like that. So they go, hey man, I know you've got the money, let's put the money in this temporary account. And then when I finish a project, I know the money's there, that I'm gonna get paid for it if you agree to. It's showing that there's no trust. There's no trust. But all right, fair enough. The homeowner should show that they have money, the capacity to build. 100%. That's standard. It happens all the time.
Yeah.
But this guy's gone beyond that. It says, nah, you gotta. It's like lawyers. They gotta transfer into a trust account, man. I don't trust you, bro. There's no relationship with that person.
Yeah.
But they want that
extra
progress, all these progress payments, which is hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's not like 5,000, 10,000 like lawyers. They start with like $5,000 maybe. But they're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars going into this account.
It just raises a lot of questions about the purpose of this account, because if the owner is the one that has to release the money to the builder that's been held by this other entity, then why even have this platform in the first place? Why can't we just do it from basic principles and just pay the builder when a valid claim is made?
Probably because people are not trusting each other. They're like, hey man, all right, the builder doesn't trust the trade, or the trade doesn't trust the builder doesn't trust the homeowner. Let's put, all right man, I've got the money to pay for the job, I'm gonna put it in this account. And the other guy can see it, which is the builder, he can see it.
There's zero room for any trust at all, because if everything is monitored to this extent, it does create a context and it creates a vibe that like, we're not gonna trust each other here. I wanna see every single dollar, paid up front to this other entity, which just holds the money, which is very odd.
Well, let me tell you something about this builder for this project. He ran out of money.
Right.
So he got the OC permit.
He
didn't finish the decking at the back. He goes, I've got no money. Apparently, he said to the homeowner, there's no more funds to finish that. So he wanted to do a variation to remove it.
Hang on, at that point, had the owner paid the full contract price?
Excluding the final.
Excluding the final, okay.
Yeah, which is like 38,000.
It leaves the owner in a position where they need to go find someone else to basically finish the job.
Well, yeah, and he's even threatened that, I'm gonna charge you about $5,000 a week in interest rate. And I'm like, before I got the contract, I was like, 5,000, I think that's over a whole year. I think you got it wrong. And then I'm reading this, I'm like, holy moly, it is. It's true.
It actually is that, yeah.
So he's actually threatening to do that if they don't pay.
Wow.
So even though with all these conditions, method 2 payment, special conditions, loaded up contract like that, $500, for late payment or liquidated damages or whatever, and he ran out of money. I just got a quick question for you because we're just doing a recording. For the final stage payment, he sent you an invoice, for that?
Yes.
Yeah, so are you able to send me that invoice just when you have a chance, not urgent? And then the second thing is, did he send you the invoice for that minus how much it would cost to build a deck?
No, he's included the price of the deck.
But he didn't actually build a deck.
That's right, but he still included it. So the banks asked him to take the price off or build the deck, and he won't do either. He said he's not doing either.
But why is he doing that?
Because he's telling us that we owe him money. We don't owe him any money.
He's over budget.
He told us he's $100,000 over budget.
Oh, okay. That's why.
Yeah, that's what he's saying. And then what he said to us, you know what? He goes, just pay me the money. After you pay me the money, he goes, I'll come back and I'll do it for you cheaper. So pay him twice. He wants us to pay him twice for the deck.
Far out, man.
Wow, so from what I've just heard, that is quite extraordinary. So the builder on his own bat has gone $100,000 over budget. As a result, he wants to be paid the final claim, plus he doesn't want to do certain works that were specified in the contract. In the context of all this, wanting the owners to trust him that he'll come back and fix the decking at quote cheaper. We don't know what cheaper means and whether he's even going to come back because he's run out of money. If you're the owners, you're just in limbo, you're in a no man's land and you don't know what to do because he's pressing them to pay up the final amount when the work's not done.
And you know what this guy's done? To get the OC permit, he actually got this engineer that's not the actual design engineer. So the actual engineer that came to sign off the job, because the building surveyor said, nah, I'm not gonna sign this off, man. And then the builder got this engineer who said, mate, I'll sign it off for you, mate. And I guarantee it for you. So he actually went and signed the job off.
Yeah.
When the homeowner questioned the engineer about, hey man, are you gonna inspect it properly or whatever, or something like that, the engineer goes, oh, I don't get paid enough. let me call her.
Hello?
Hey Val, just a quick question. You know when the engineer came to site, when he said to you, I don't get paid enough, like why did he say that? Is it because your husband said, hey, are you going to spend more time on the job to inspect it, or are you going to inspect this again, or what actually happened?
I don't get paid enough. He goes to go out there. He goes, I don't work for you, I work for John. And that's when I said to him, I paid half the account, which I didn't have to pay. I paid it.
You wanted him to come to site to inspect the job more thoroughly, is that why?
No, Len told John he has to come. If he signs it off, then we can get occupancy. So he signed it off anyway, but he didn't, the pillar at the front, he didn't inspect that. He didn't inspect it.
But he signed off on it?
Yeah, but he signed off on it, yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right, cool, easy. Thanks heaps.
So according to special condition number 15, in addition to anything in clause 34 of the contract, in the event that the owner wishes to engage its own independent building inspector to inspect the building works during the building period, subsection A, any independent inspection service engaged must hold one of the following licenses: registered building practitioner, licensed engineer, licensed building surveyor. Please note you agree that the builder reserves the right to refuse access to any private inspector. Now, this is in contravention of section 19 of the Domestic Building Contracts Act, where it says that the owner or anyone that is authorised by the owner is allowed access and reasonable access during the construction period. So this is really, really concerning that the builder wants control and wants to manage who comes onto the site. For me, this screams a red flag as well.
Because it's really concerning that he doesn't want to allow anybody access unless it's a builder to inspect the work, builder, surveyor or an engineer. Yeah, and I don't care what anybody else says, keep the report to yourself, I'm not going to listen to it. Even though the Domestic Building Contracts Act specifically says an authorised person. So basically anybody that's engaged by the homeowner.
It could be anyone.
So if the homeowner, for example, comes and says, hey man, I actually get the NCC, and this is in breach of clause XYZ. What, he doesn't have to listen to him?
Well, exactly. I mean,
because it's a legitimate item.
Exactly.
So anybody that doesn't have a license, he's not going to listen to it.
Yeah,
it's not fair at all.
That's not right. That's not right. And again, it just basically creates this element of there being no trust, and which is what we've said before, and it does have a lot of control about who the owner can appoint, right? Because it's not up to the builder to control that.
For clarification, the following staged progress claims will be defined as below. So we have here deposit, undergrounds, raft, slab and subfloor, roof cover, brick and retaining, install of joinery and final. And then when I am looking at this special conditions where it's supposed to explain further what each stage means, he's got underground, he explains it right here, 13.1. And then 13.2, slab and subfloor. Yes. All right, it's there, good. Roof cover, he's got it. So means that the frame is complete, walls and trusses are on, and the Colorbond roof has been installed. He's saying walls and trusses are on.
Yep.
That means, are they compliant? Or are they just sitting on the site?
What does the word on mean?
Yeah. And then we've got clause 13.4 follows that, it says lockup stage, but the method 2 stage payment says brick and retaining after that. And there's no brick and retaining. What does it mean? I mean, he's got a little explanation here. It says completion of brickwork and retaining walls, but he doesn't explain it further here. He's talking about a stage that doesn't exist.
It calls into question how you interpret this contract, right? Because he's got here very clearly in the special conditions that these are what the progress claim stages mean, but if you omit to not put in a stage, well then that leaves a big gap.
So basically, you shouldn't have even put that there. Or I mean, I don't know if it's a mistake or he just copy pasted this from somewhere. And then there's nothing about install of joinery, and then there's nothing about final. He's got practical completion stage, but technically it's not called final. True?
Yes, exactly.
I mean, look, practical completion stage, it says, is the stage where the constructed property is now ready for inspection and occupation.
And on the schedule it says that you pay when you get the occupancy permit, right?
Yeah.
So
What would you do?
I would just have to guess that that's what he means when he talks about this stage. But again, it's a guess. It shouldn't be a guess. It should be clear, it should be precise.
Yeah.
And it doesn't sound like that the language that they've used in various parts of the contract are coming together, right?
So yeah, I mean, look, if the homeowner goes, hey man, look bro, clause 13.7 says is ready for inspection. Nah, mate, sorry. And then the builder's gonna say, nah, if you look at the schedule, man, it says at the final certificate of occupancy, you gotta pay me my money.
And that's gonna be a contractual dispute, right? Like when is it payable? Because on what we can see at the moment, it's not very clear.
Yeah.
So this is just a recipe for a war. So what's also odd is that there's some sections here about that if a variation costs less than $5,000, it must be paid to the builder in full prior to site commencement. And then if variations cost more than $5,000, it must be paid to the builder in full with the lockup stage progress payment. What do you think about that?
The lockup stage payment is not even part of the progress payment stages. He's used method 2 and lockup stage is not even there.
He hasn't classified what lockup stage is on the schedule.
Yeah.
And so we don't even know what lockup, when he's reached that stage, and we don't know when that payment is due.
And then he goes after that, if you read down, if the owner does not pay the variation amount in accordance with the above, the builder is entitled to interest rate 27.5% per annum.
So this 27% rate just keeps popping up. Like wherever you look in his contract, it's just everywhere.
Like, man,
It's like
I don't want to build anymore, bro.
it's like where's Wally? You know, like you know, it's just coming up wherever, and it's there in red and white. You know what I mean? It's just like really bright colours, and it's very strange.
14.13, all warranties as per Australian standards.
Which warranties?
I don't even know which Australian standards is for warranties, man. Hook me up, bro. I don't even know. As per Australian standards, where? Like, it's vague as well. Like, you should have defined that even better. Like, what the hell do you mean by that, warranties, man? If the homeowner brings an item to the builder, says, hey, man, isn't this within warranty? He's like, nah, sorry. The Australian standard says this about warranties. Where?
Yeah, where? What? Got to be really specific, and this doesn't have that detail in there, right? It's just open to interpretation. There is a section as well under the special conditions where it says the builder will add any time delays due to unforeseen circumstances to the building contract. What are these delays? There's no definition, there's no examples. He could just say it's any form of delay. He will add time delay to that time period, right? And so that leaves an open-ended meaning there, which the builder could use to his strengths.
I'm also looking at item 13, yeah? Because total construction period is 385 days, all right? Now, he started in August 23, finished it December 24.
Sure.
Just last year. He's actually, the total liquidated damages that he has to pay the owner is around $25,750. And that's based on $250 per day penalty for a 103-day delay.
That's a lot of money, but then if we look at the special conditions though, the builder is allowed to add any time delay due to any unforeseen circumstances to the building contract. So if the builder thinks that anything else has come up that he couldn't foresee, then he can add an extra time delay on that and he can escape any penalty. And what is concerning about this section here is that it doesn't define what a relevant time delay is, you know? So there's got to be some sort of list or examples or some grouping together of what a delay is in which the builder is then allowed to extend time. So guys, it's really important that you have access to your site. The Domestic Building Contracts Act shows that you can have your authorised representative to come to the site whenever it's reasonable. And what this contract seems to say is that in the event that the owner does wish to engage an independent building inspector to inspect the building works during the building period, any independent inspection service engaged must hold one of the following licenses, which is registered building practitioner, a licensed engineer, or a licensed building surveyor. The builder can reserve the right to refuse any access to any private inspector. And so this to me does yell out a couple of red flags, because you don't need your own inspector to have any of these licenses. The builder shouldn't be allowed to just refuse access to any private inspector without giving any reasons, right? Because you do have that right by law that these particular inspections can be done, because you're not able to find any of the defects unless you do your own inspections.
Please note, you agree that reserves the right to refuse access to any inspector. But then he goes, the builder will review and respond accordingly to any reports produced by a license. Any reports produced by unlicensed will be for the owner. So how the hell can that happen? He can say, don't come in.
He can say that, but also if you do get a report somehow, he won't even action it. Right,
okay,
so it says here, any reports produced by an unlicensed representative will be for the owner's use only, which means that the builder doesn't have to do anything about it, which is a big problem as well. So he's having that control here, that the builder can handpick who he wants to come to the site, and if somehow the owners do get a report from someone that doesn't meet his standards, then he can dismiss it.
The homeowner should have engaged an inspector throughout all the stages before payment.
Correct.
And one of the most important reasons why is because, first of all, the guy was running out of money, like right now. Yeah? If they would have engaged someone competent to do the inspections throughout the stages, and also review the contract or whatever, that would have been a solid build process, because that way, you know, hey, don't pay this guy because the stage right now is not compliant. A lot of non-compliant works. Don't pay we advise, get legal advice, but don't pay the stage until it's compliant and finished.
Correct.
Because then if they run away or go bust or whatever,
it'll be massive trouble. So exactly, be careful of what you agree to in these contracts, and you need to be aware of how these things work in practice. Because if it does happen where the builder runs away or they go bust or whatever, and you've paid large sums of money, it is going to cause a lot more stress in the long term, and it's going to cause a lot more headaches and delay and costs when these things aren't set up properly.
That's why it is so important to get everything checked out, guys. If you guys want to reach out to Dean, he's reasonably priced, professional service. That's why I highly recommend him, because it's not like other lawyers that we dealt with in the past. This guy is the real deal. Please reach out to him, get an inquiry. He'll be able to help you guys out. And I don't recommend anyone unless I'm pretty confident. So give him a try, and good luck with your build. Let's finish off this schmozzle. So what do you think of this house? Do you think it's compliant?
Absolutely not.
Is it a schmozzle?
An absolute schmozzle.
Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you think that you've learned something new from this video, please hit that like button and subscribe. It will help our channel grow. We really appreciate your support. And as soon as we get some updates regarding this job, we're gonna make another video to give you guys an update. So stay tuned to the next episode. Let's go.